Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. Kashmir is on the boil again. After 2010, when the valley had witnessed unrest for months and had led to over 120 deaths, unrest has resurfaced. While the immediate cause seems to be the death of a young militant leader, Burhan Wani, who was killed by security forces last Friday, the situation has been going out of control for some weeks now. The large number of people who gathered for the memorial prayers of Burhan Wani and the subsequent protests led to firing, and over 30 people have died so far. Most parts of the valley, including Srinagar, is under curfew. The Amarnath Yatra, which had begun, is under suspension. The sources of communication, including internet, has been disconnected. Tension is palpable in the entire valley, though South Kashmir seems to be the worst affected. So why has Kashmir come to a boil again? What have been the reasons? Also, why more and more young locals, employed and educated, are giving it all up and joining extremist organizations? We will discuss all this today with Sheshadri Chari, National Executive Member, BJP, Ansari, former Interlocutor on Kashmir, Jayadev Ranade, former Additional Secretary, Cabinet Secretariat, Shehla, Rashid, Shora, Vice President of the JNU Students' Union, who is a Kashmiri herself, and Pushp Saraf, Senior Journalist. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Sheshadri Chari, why do you think this round of unrest has begun?
See, it will be too early to say that it was all expected and it was very much on the expected lines. But what has happened is, after a long time, Jammu and Kashmir
sorry to intervene. When you say that it's too early to say that, does it mean that at some point of time we will all be saying that this was expected?
Obviously.
Why?
I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because Jammu and Kashmir, after a long time, is having a representative government, a duly elected government, which represents both the Jammu and the Valley, Ladakh, Leh, and the rest of the whole part of the state. Now, the focus of this government is governance, economic development, good governance, and these are the factors. So obviously, Islamabad is not going to like this kind of a situation. So those who are itching for trouble in Jammu and Kashmir would want any small or big incident so that they can get a foothold and create a problem and go back to the 2010, 2006, 2000 events. So this is a script which is going according to the plan of Islamabad. So we have to be very careful in handling the situation. See, security forces have to take action as far as a particular security threat is concerned. They have to meet the challenge. As the challenge mounts, they have to see the quality of the challenge and also give a fitting reply, and that is exactly what they have done. Therefore, it's nothing to gloat about, it's nothing to feel sad about, but the incidents should be brought under control, normalcy should be restored as early as possible so that external organizations and outfits don't fish in troubled waters. This is what we have to see. This should be our priority number one.
Okay, Mr. Ansari. Mr. Ansari, do you think that this round of unrest which we are witnessing now has, as Sheshadri Chari feels, a reaction to the government which is ruling there?
Well, it is not only a reaction to the ruling government, but it is a reflection of non-performance of the state government and also non-implementation of the various alliance agenda items which have been agreed upon by the present ruling government at the center as well as at the states. So whatever has happened, I agree with Mr. Chari that it was expected. It was expected because of the fact that we have a large number of the youth, and the youths are hugely alienated and they do not see a future they do not have the faith in the future of this country, because as I see that the youth in Jammu and Kashmir and the youth elsewhere in the whole country, they are at a different footings insofar as education, employment and so many other activities are concerned. Recently, you may recall that large number of students who were studying in different parts of the country, on one pretext or the other, they were harmed, they were expelled, or they were humiliated. And the same thing also happened in Srinagar in the NIT campus. So what I see that there is a total disconnect, between the people at Jammu and Kashmir as well as the rest of the country. And I may also bring in, the factors like, the kind of arrangement that we have had with Kashmir. Say, take for example, the issue of Article 370, which is a temporary arrangement, and it has taken almost 70 years that our democratic system has not been able to take a particular view on this, whether it is going to be a special status or it is going to be a permanent status,
Sir,
or it is going to be abrogated, whatever.
But
while we do talk about very successful democratic functioning, but insofar as these parts are concerned, we have not succeeded very well.
Okay.
So what I say
Sir, okay.
is, I wish to point out that the present situation that exists in Kashmir is quite different from what has been happening in the last 30 years or so. I wish to pinpoint. So far, all that has happened either at the Pathankot or in Mumbai, that was externally sponsored, but this is a homegrown. It is realization of the youth that probably they do not see realization of their own political, economic and cultural aspirations, which is why we see that there is a large number of people who are coming in support of persons like Vani. So this is something which is to be changed. That we cannot say that it is all...
Mr. Ansari,
thank you.
I'll come back to you. Yes,
Girish,
Chari, yes, very quickly.
Girish, I only want to make one quick point.
Yes.
It will be absolutely dangerous to say that the youth in Kashmir is disenchanted and that is why they are spilling out into the road. We will be blaming all those youth in Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of the country. It is very bad. It is not so. It is absolutely not in keeping with
that is
what
your
we
point.
have saying.
That is your point of view.
It's a section of the youth who have been recruited by certain agencies outside India.
Mr. Chari, Mr. Chari, Shehla, one second.
Yeah.
I'll come to you. Mr. Chari, your point is well taken. That's a point of view which you have. But let me get Mr. Ranade. Mr. Ranade, do you see this, as Mr. Chari is saying that, it is externally created problem, or as Mr. Ansari says that this is a completely different situation from what we have seen in the last 30 years?
No, I would say that there are domestic factors undoubtedly. There is an amount of disaffection that the youth have, most youth have in any case, when they're aspiring for jobs. There's also a sense of alienation in Kashmir. But these are local issues. It's more a question of misgovernance and failure to mainstream them. As far as the external factors are concerned, in fact, if you look at the last couple of years, there has been an uptick in violence in Kashmir. Not necessarily gunfire, but different kinds of violence. Secondly, let's go back just to the statement of the Pak Army Chief General Rahil Sharif at the beginning of the year, when he said that Kashmir is our main agenda and we will not rest till it is completed. And this followed the establishment of the China-Pakistan economic corridor between China and Pakistan. Pakistan has got emboldened after that. And please do note that immediately after this, as the protest started, obviously with some assistance from outside, we had the two top terrorists sitting in Pakistan, Salahuddin and Hafiz Saeed, coming out in support of this movement. Now, you also...
Support of what?
Support of the agitation in Kashmir, which is going on right now. We also have a statement by the Pakistani government. Now, these obviously are prepared texts which they have come out with, and they are encouraging the other elements inside Kashmir. So I think it's a mixture of both.
So it's a combination of local misgovernance and support from outside.
Yes,
that's
a high degree of support from outside, including through domestic elements.
Shehla,
yes.
How do you look at it? You are a Kashmiri. Unlike those youngsters who have gone into the hills and try to get into activities which are really not, which they should not be doing. You have come down here, you're studying, you had a job, I think, before you came back here. So why is it that the youngsters of Kashmir are, taking into these kind of activities now?
See, in this, if we actually see the life of Burhan Wani himself, that itself becomes a prism for looking at many things. Why does a 20-something get recruited into Hizbul Mujahideen? The BJP representative here sitting, he says that they are trying to recruit. But why do people get recruited? And this is not a very large number also. Unlike in 1989 when it was, almost every youth had picked up a gun. It's not like that. These are very few in number.
We're still
Why are they
talking
getting
about 100, 150 people, that's all in the...
Yeah, I mean by the army's own figures.
Yes.
These are very, very few people. But you see that if you look at his own story, he says that I have seen this kind of atrocity by the army and then I got recruited into this. He's been very clear about this. But here's the thing, I mean Kashmir is neither a terrorism problem nor is it a human rights problem. It is these and a political problem. There's a political problem which we have been ignoring for a very large, very long amount of time. And if you see what Burhan Wani says in his last video, he has talked about, one video which I particularly came across, which he says that Kashmiri Pandits should be asked to come back. They are like our brothers. He says that don't touch the Amarnath Yatris. They should be allowed to. So someone like him who is 20 years of age and is not charged with any heinous crime, for example, no bomb blast or no killing per se, the state has absolutely...
He was showing some intentions.
He was, yes, on Facebook and all, he was posting this on YouTube, etc. The state has absolutely no strategy to talk to him, reach out to him, make him surrender, whatever. There is absolutely no strategy to talk to people like him. There is also no strategy to talk to people. Like you can say that Burhan Wani was a Hizbul Mujahideen commander, but the lakhs and lakhs of people who are there, you can't call every one of them violent. You can't call every one of them Hizbul Mujahideen. They are local people who, most of the time they have nothing to do with politics. They may not even, bother who is coming to power, whatever, very, very ordinary people. They are coming out on the streets. This requires an introspection on part of the government. Why is it like, what is the failure? Why we have failed so far to talk to people there? The problem is that during peacetime, whenever say between 2010 and 16, there is absolutely no effort. At some point they had sent some interlocutors, but the people were not very happy with the limited mandate given to them. Kashmir is a political problem. It needs a political solution. You cannot think of, you cannot relegate this job to the army. The army does a counter-terrorism job. They cannot solve a political problem. So that is what it has become. It is being projected as a terrorism problem, as a problem of violence. And then, always the discourse will be limited. So, for example, right now there are protests going on. But if you see the mainstream media discourse, it is focused either on what some person has said about the Burhan Wani, or it is focused on the violence, etc. It is not just the violence. It is a mass phenomenon right now. I have never seen so many people coming out. It deserves an intervention on part
Absolutely,
of the government.
Sir, so many people coming out for a terrorist or a suspected terrorist, death, his memorial service, so many people coming out on the streets. There is something which is happening there.
Certainly. Firstly, he is a terrorist. I mean,
Yes.
from all that one reads, he is the commander of the Hizbul, etc. Whether he actually picked up the gun and did something, I'm not aware, but that's how it's defined. The fact that so many people came for his funeral is certainly something that people need to sit up and take notice of. But I would mention 2 points here, going from what she said. Firstly, there is a feeling of disaffection, I grant you that. But why is it there? When we talk about not being part of the political mainstream, the moment anyone talks about mainstreaming J&K, bringing it all making it a part and parcel of the Indian Union, there is a hue and cry. The moment we leave it as it is, again there is a criticism. So I don't know where we are wanting to go.
There is a problem there.
And if I may just complete,
Yes.
if we look just at the per capita incomes, etc., there's really no reason for them to complain compared to the people in the rest of the country.
Pushp, is it a political problem? Why has it resurfaced now? Why do you think, where does the problem lie?
Yes, the present turmoil, to think that Hizbul Mujahideen will keep silent, whether it is present government or any government, is, I think, a wrong notion. Hizbul Mujahideen has been quite active, And
One
before...
one second, one question.
Yeah.
Now, the recruitment of locals, the local youngsters who are educated, who are employed, giving all that up, going and joining these forces, all locals, why is this happening?
Earlier, if you see their number,
I know, but in the
yeah.
past it was more people coming from outside across the border who were coming and joining these forces, or now you see a lot of youngsters in the local areas doing that. Why do you think this is happening?
Earlier also what happened, Girish, that many locals went across the line of control to get training. It's a matter of record. And two of the top militant leaders of the valley, they have spoken about it in detail. So right now, this social media came in handy for the many educated young people. You will find that level of education, general education, political awareness is very high in the valley.
In the valley.
There is hardly any family which is not politically, or any person who is not politically awakened. So the problem that has arisen, that though the situation presently, I will say, is much better so far as the presence of state institutions in the valley is concerned, compared to what it was between 1991 and 1996.
Certainly.
And
that was the worst period.
Yeah. And it was, everything was in debris at that.
Exactly.
And right now, the problem remains that there is a disconnect between the mainstream political spectrum and the youth.
Who is
in the valley. Mainstream parties.
Who is responsible for it?
This is always the people, the mainstream political parties must take the lead. They must take the lead in bridging the gap. Two parties have become...
take the blame also and the lead also.
Blame, but you have to realize the circumstances in which they have to work between 91 and 96. People were being...
That's past,
killed for their political affiliations. And
we have a new government in place.
Yeah.
This government was supposed to bring back certain amount of... what has happened is the unrest has increased. It has not come down.
Very true.
Isn't it a fact?
Very true. But Mehbooba Mufti has taken over as Chief Minister just now. And in this government, the major burden will have to be shared by People's Democratic Party, which incidentally is very well placed in the south of Kashmir, which is under turmoil at the moment.
Exactly, which is there.
Yeah, but it has to devise some strategy to do it, because all this, the killing has happened all of a sudden, and it's an emotive issue because the killing of a young man. And whenever there is an emotive issue, point is that the Western interests also play a role. Just imagine Pakistan issuing a statement, official statement on
saying
this
that, yes.
Not only Pakistan, the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, one of the first things he does after coming back to his country is to issue a statement about this. So Western interest also comes into
There is
play.
no doubt that some pain, there is an attempt to play in disturbed waters. But yes, Mr. Chari, you wanted to say.
No, Girish, I'll take off from where Pushp Saraf left off. Obviously, maybe given another 2-3 days, the Home Minister has already spoken to all the political parties, and the government, both the Jammu and Kashmir government and the central government, are trying to evolve a sort of a political consensus. And overall, if you see the situation,
political consensus about what?
Political consensus on the need and necessity for bringing Kashmir back on peaceful governance track. That is exactly what is to be done. And remember one thing, it's very ironical. On the one hand, we say the Kashmiri youth is uneducated, they don't have jobs.
Nobody says they are uneducated.
And that is why there is resentment.
There is a high level of literacy in Kashmir.
On the other hand, maximum number of recruitments are from those people who are educated and employed. It's ironical. Therefore, we should see.
No, Mr. Chari, I don't think, Kashmir's level of literacy is pretty high.
Girish, the most important element in Kashmir is a peaceful, progressive, economically developing Kashmir.
Mr. Chari, we have heard
is not to the liking of Islamabad. Therefore,
your party
is using Kashmir as a trick.
Sorry, Shehla, one second.
It is every trick on the trade to destabilize the peace process in Kashmir.
Mr. Ansari, sorry, Shehla. Mr. Ansari, that there will be attempts to destabilize, there will be attempts to not allow peace to happen is a given as far as Kashmir is concerned. We know this is what is going to be done by the people, by forces across the border. Now the question is, you as interlocutors, you went there, you came back with a report, you had several recommendations and suggestions made. How much of it has been implemented in these last few years since you gave the report?
Well, you have asked a question and that question has also the answer. Let me now come to the basic question that you have been asking as to what is the motivating factor
Exactly.
for the youth of today to wage war against the Indian state, in one form or the other. And the reason is that you may recall that the UPA government constituted half a dozen committees, and those committees have recommended CBMs with respect to LOC, trade. They made suggestion about human rights violation, how to tackle it. They also made suggestions about political processes that are to be engaged with Pakistan as well as with the mainstream and other political leaders in Kashmir, and they made a whole range of suggestions. Even when you mentioned about the interlocutors report, I may mention that the interlocutors were appointed on the basis of recommendation of at least 40 MPs from different political parties who had gone there in Kashmir in 2010, and they recommended for appointment of interlocutors. Interlocutors had gone to almost all the districts. They met thousands of people and their views and aspirations were reported in the report. And unfortunately, neither the working groups which suggested number of CBMs nor the interlocutors report have been examined and nor implemented. And I'm not blaming only the government, the then government or the present government. Rather, it was a responsibility for all the political parties to come forward and see to it that those CBMs were implemented. And I think that forms the basis for the present day agitation, when you see that it is not the question of eliminating one Vani. Thousands of people who are gathering, they have now sensed, as I have been saying, that probably neither the state government nor the central government, they are sincere and serious about the implementation of those schemes, which is why the alienation over a period of time has grown. And this is why most of the youth now, they feel that they do not have faith in the future of the integration that they have with the national government. So that is something which needs to be addressed squarely, rather than keep on pointing out that we are getting inspirations from the external sources. Mind it, this is a homegrown problem and it is the educated youth, and we need to engage them democratically. Unfortunately, democracy has not been succeeding effectively in Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay. Pushp, actually, sir, I'll come to you. Pushp, that's a very important point. Do we now accept the fact that this is a homegrown problem and we have to tackle it? Not just blaming across the border is not going to help. Help issues, help situation. You have to tackle this, which is increasingly becoming a homegrown problem.
This is, our problem, if you mean that it's a homegrown problem, and we have to solve it. Yes, the problem was there when even the pro-India opposition was crushed in the valley, in the state rather. It has happened. It's a matter of record. That is why the people felt that there was denial of democracy to them, and that worsened the situation over the years. Things started improving between in the late 60s, but again worsened because of one reason or the other. And then in the meantime, the fundamentalist forces also gained ground in the valley especially, I say, and it began from the region which is under turmoil at the moment. Then it spread to Sopur and a few other areas also. And in 1987, the situation again became bad. So this, the main thing is that people should have a sense of political empowerment. And when we say that it is our problem, then it has to be solved within the contours.
That is understood. The fact of the matter, Mr. Ranade, is in this latest round of when we reading reports from various journalists who have travelled, who have seen. What is the reaction coming from there? the kind of oppression which the local boys and girls are feeling, because of which they are taking up to this kind of situation. One of the reasons they're talking about is the presence of AFSPA. Do you think that there is a need now to have a relook at AFSPA?
I would go a step beyond what you said. As we all, I think, by and large agreed that there is a feeling of disaffection, people are unhappy and discontented. But I'd just point out that in the last over a decade, there has been democracy functioning in J&K. There have been free
elected
governments, etc. So there's no question of them not feeling empowered. What is happening, in my view, is that a certain group of people are ensuring a degree of instability, political instability and social instability in J&K. I'm talking specifically about the separatists. And as far as the governments are concerned, central governments, regardless of who they are, they've just continued with old policies. I think it's time for the government in Delhi and along with the other parties to sit down and consider evolving a new policy for Kashmir, because we just cannot let this continue. And as far as AFSPA is concerned, it's the army also, when they are called in, they need some protection levels, and AFSPA provides them. If AFSPA is not acceptable to the local people, something else can be devised. But that should come under this rubric of a fresh new policy towards Kashmir.
Shehla.
I have something to say about that. The problem is that, see, whenever armed forces go to any area of combat, etc., they are not protected by AFSPA, and this is a very, very special law which has been devised only for the Northeast and for Kashmir. And the Supreme Court itself has said, it has now pointed fingers at AFSPA, saying that it should be, every killing should be investigated. And here's the thing, I mean, whenever you talk about, this is a very brief point I want to make, but this is a history of censorship. I mean, taking off from what Mr. Saraf actually pointed to, I would say that in a little bit of more detail. He's saying that the conditions started improving around the 60s. If you actually look at Indira Gandhi's statement in 77, she said that, I regret why we didn't do a plebiscite in 77. If at that time we had done a plebiscite, maybe we would have had a pro-India position. This is Indira Gandhi's statement. The thing is that there has been a total. First, the plebiscite front was banned. Then in 87, you had this rigging of elections. Now today, if anyone talks about Kashmir, you are either sent to jail or you are declared a terrorist, or you just can't talk about Kashmir. The problem is the space has to be opened up where all the Kashmiris are taken as stakeholders, and not just the Kashmiris, all the people of the region, Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, people who have moved outside, people who are there, everyone has to be made a stakeholder. Like, this can't be an India-Pakistan talk which goes on in 5-star hotels and whatever diplomats come from here and there. Kashmiris have to be taken on board and spoken to. We can't just censor.
Mr. Chari, do you think the time has come for a fresh approach to this problem? The old approaches have not worked. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't think we have to have a totally new approach or a fresh approach. Every kind of approach has been applied to Kashmir from time to time. What is important is to secure our borders, keep the domestic issues under check, try to improve governance, and also try to stop outside interference as much as possible.
Okay, sir.
As far as treating Kashmir with kid gloves, and as far as treating Kashmir as a state which is absolutely different from the rest of India. If every state government, if we have been able to function on the basis of federalism in all other states extremely well, I don't see any reason why we should not have
there is no fresh
federal structure with Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay, there is no fresh approach.
Therefore, there is nothing special about Jammu and Kashmir at all.
Sorry, we don't have any more time left. For any more questions.
Is polarizing the whole country. What are you talking about?
But the question is whether
seeds of discontent across the country, and you will have a civil war.
Sorry, Shehla.
BJP will be responsible for a civil war in the country.
Out of time. Whether there can be a fresh approach to solve these problems. Mr. Chari obviously doesn't feel there is a need for a fresh approach, but maybe that is the only solution. We'll have to wait and watch how these things. Hopefully, as Pushp earlier said, that in the next few days there may be a temporary peace or in Kashmir. We'll have to wait and watch. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time.